Come to order. October 6th, October 6th, 2020, Redevelopment Commission meeting. Joe, do we have a quorum? I can't see what we have.
Yes, we do. We have everybody here present now, either in person or via Zoom. Jerry is here with us. Everybody else is on Zoom. And if you wouldn't mind, I'll go ahead and read a statement aloud now. And this is the same statement I've read for a couple months now. But the public is invited to attend the Lawrence Redevelopment Commission. The RDC may impose reasonable restrictions on the number of attendees to control audience density in consideration with the existing COVID-19 national emergency. The public may participate remotely by dialing 463-777-8704 and entering participation code 420357. In addition, if you would like to provide comments remotely, please email them to jmurphy, M-U-R-P-H-Y, @cityoflawrence.org. We'll now do a verbal roll call. Commissioners, when you hear your name, please respond with here. David Blunt.
Here.
Jerry Clifford.
Here.
Dick Freege.
Here.
Melissa Swindell.
Here.
Ray Rohana.
Here.
And Cheryl Sullivan.
Here.
All right, thank you. David, I'll hand this back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. And now we need an approval of minutes. I assume everyone has had the opportunity and the chance to review the minutes. We have 3 different meeting sessions that we need to approve. So can I have a motion to approve the August regular meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote for approval of the August regular.
This is Cheryl. This is the August 25th, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Under number 8 is the word contracted, and I think the word should be contacted. I
Okay.
don't think we contracted with NDOT.
No, that's correct. It should say contacted. I will make sure that change is incorporated into these minutes.
Thank you.
With that said, I think that we can still go ahead and move to approve these minutes. So with a motion a second, I will now do a roll call vote for approval of these minutes with that correction that Cheryl has pointed out. David Blunt.
Approved.
Jerry Clifford.
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Ray Rohana. Ray.
Yes, approved.
Thank you. Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks, Cheryl, for seeing that mistake that we've made. Next, I would like to approve the minutes of the September 9th special meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
Oh, this is Ashley. I would just note in those minutes, it states that I was present and I was not at that meeting.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you were present.
And also under number 1, where it has the word game, I think it's the word game, it should be gave.
Yes, Cheryl, that's a good find. And I actually, in my printed off minutes that I brought to the meeting tonight, I noticed that correction. I apologize for sending out an incorrect version.
And then if I could also ask under number 1 to add parentheses E, something to the effect NDOT will provide a status of the overhead utility lines to the commission.
NDOT,
That
okay.
wasn't represented in the minutes. And as I recall, the representative was going to get back with Joe on what the status was.
Gotcha. I will note that and include those in the official minutes that are published on the city website.
So I think the motion would be a motion to approve with the changes noted, or something along those lines that have been discussed.
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second, Melissa.
That's good.
Thank you. All right, we'll now approve these via roll call vote. David Blunt,
Approve.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
Ray Rohana,
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Lastly, October 1st, we had an executive session. And if there are no questions or comments on this executive session, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Clifford. Oh, we had a second by Mr. Clifford there, Ray, but thank you. We'll now do a roll call vote. Mr. David Blunt,
Approve.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
Ray Rohana,
Approved.
Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you. Now, I believe Dan would like to make a brief comment regarding the claims and purchase orders for payment before we get into any kind of motion on that.
Thank you, Joe. Page 1, I'm doing this in Jason's absence, but page 1, it's pretty straightforward. It's primarily maintenance, an appraisal in there, brownfield grant related, advertising a notice of property sale, Tribune Star. The rest of it's primarily appraisals using the go-to on-call amounts that you so graciously provided me several months ago. So it's pretty straightforward for the first $24,000. The big one is on the back. It's a $80,000 payment. That is the amount you approved that as part of approving the project development agreement with the Freegee project and Mills. This is the $80,000 that we agreed to pay them for damages relative to the project upon their current operations. It's a formality, I think, that we're just coming back to you, letting you know that we were making that payment today. This is actually an oversight. This payment was due almost 60 days ago by contract. Jason and I kind of forgot about it, to be honest with you. Mills came back a month ago, or 2 weeks ago, and threatened to sue. We told them we'd have the payment ready for them tomorrow. So it got on the claims for approval today. So we're asking you to approve both that payment and the regular $24,000 payments that we're accustomed to about every month. So with that, we'd like to have questions or a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion from Jerry Clifford. Do we have a second?
Did they hear you?
Do we have a second? We have a motion from Jerry Clifford to approve claims and purchase orders. Do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you, Cheryl.
That was Melissa. Thank you. We'll now do a roll call vote. It looks like Ray said his mic stopped working. So Ray, if you would do a nonverbal head shake to approve when we do a roll call here. David Blunt,
Approve.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
Ray Rohana. Thank you. Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you. In terms of RDC financial report, we will cover that more in depth at the regularly scheduled October meeting for October 26th. There is no full financial report provided by Mr. Fenwick because this is kind of a special meeting and it does not fall at the end of the month. So we can now move on to old business.
Mr. Blount, may I move forward with the agenda, please?
I didn't hear what you said, Dan. What'd you say?
May I move forward with the agenda, Dave?
Yes, please go ahead with the old business, Dan. Thank you.
So 8102, 8150, I just wanted to advise everyone that that option has expired as of October 1st, that we had to purchase that. I was waiting on the Phase 2. If you recall, their second appraisal came in at $700 and approximately $60,000. Our first appraisal was around $640, if I remember right. The Phase 2 was pretty clean on the actual car wash. There were concerns on the car lot site. Given the restrictions, the differential in the appraisals, it was not my recommendation to move forward at this time of that purchase, and as such, I just let it expire because we weren't meeting during that time frame anyway. So are there any further discussions on that matter at this point? Hearing none, I wanted to update you formally with the Freegee project. Obviously, we just approved to pay the component due the Mills family. We're expecting the ERC, the environmental restrictive covenants, to come back in anytime in the next 2 or 3 weeks with a letter of comfort, hopefully before the end of the month. That will satisfy Freegee's concerns. And they are in the project of redesigning the project because they weren't able to buy the laydown lot across the road, but it will still come in within the committed $6 million investment in jobs criteria that we cultivated the project around. So I see no concerns, but I don't see groundbreaking occurring before spring of 2021, with a completion sometime in the first quarter of 2022. And I will continue to keep you up to date on that. Myers Plastic Environmental Restrictive Covenant update. I'm seeing communications come through that. That's been submitted to IDEM for approval at this point, I believe. I would think that we'll have that wrapped up by the end of the year. But given the process of government, I think it'll take that long. But that has no adverse impact in any way that I can see on the Redevelopment Commission at this point. Any further discussions relative to that matter? So even though the way we construct the agenda looks like there are more actions on here than there really are this afternoon, we really only have 2 actions the board needs to take. A new business resolution number 8, 2020, is for you to approve the sale of the property to Winthrop Property. That's the parcel on 56th Street. That's the little 52nd Street. That's on the little sliver next to the State Farm over by the Suites Hotel. So with that, we're going to ask for a motion and to approve resolution number 8 for the sale of the 52nd Street property. By the way, that was approved by the City Council last night.
I'm sorry, Cheryl, did you make that motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We'll do roll call vote for approval. Mr. David Blunt,
Approved.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
Ray Rohana. Thank you. Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
All right.
Okay, the next one is for the approval of the sale of 8026 East 46th Street to Mr. Khan per his proposal he submitted approximately a month ago. I'm asking for you to approve this resolution. And with that, what we're proposing is that you're approving the resolutions to allow council and I to enter into negotiation with Mr. Khan for the sale of that property. I want to point out that some of the covenants that I'm putting into that sale with the council, or at least we're going to try to negotiate into that, are a clawback provision stipulating that if the proposed investments have not been complete within 24 months of the purchase, the city has the option to repurchase the property at 75% of the original price. I want to be certain that this property sat vacant, that we're selling it to somebody that is going to put in effect the investment that they've committed to effect and have the jobs they've committed to hire. I've pointed out that it is zoned I-2 that does permit warehousing, wholesaling, and distribution as the uses. We're also going to require that should salt be stored in a bulk manner, that containment has to be around the interior perimeter of the building so no leaching of the salt can exit the building to threaten any part of the city's infrastructure or adjacent property. It's subject to a landscaping plan as approved by the city at the time of building plan submission, which is a standard requirement, I might point out. Building plans must be submitted to the city and a building permit obtained. That's a standard requirement within the city. And that the zoning code requires 5 foot of sidewalk, which are already there, but nonetheless, that'll have to come within the plans. And we've also stipulated the standards and setbacks that we're going to expect per building code. Those things would be in the agreement we would negotiate. So with that, I'm asking you to approve resolution number 9.
Just a comment.
Yes, sir.
So, Dan, would it be all right if we included a note, since it's not in the resolution, a note in the minutes that you've made significant stipulations regarding the sale of this property, which will be included in your negotiations with Mr. Khan?
That makes sense.
Thank you, sir.
That'll be included in the minutes. Yep.
Thank you. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
It's a motion by Mr. Clifford. Do we have a second?
Might try again, I'm not sure.
I apologize. Jerry Clifford made a motion to approve resolution number 9, 2020. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Thank you. Do a roll call vote. Mr. David Blunt,
Approved.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell.
Approved.
Thank you. Ray Rohana. Thank you. Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Thank you.
All right, the next items are primarily advisory, even though it says approval. There is no approval action this evening. 4711 German Church Road, that's the property you approved getting cleaned off with the demo work. Reason we're not ready to approve and offer to purchase is that property has to be approved by the city council, which we didn't include in the last round, and that'll be done in early November. At the city council meeting. The same is true with item number 4. 4411, 4421, 4429 are the 3 parcels we own just north of Post Road that have the for sale sign out in front of them as well. We'll be going and asking the council to approve them for sale, at which time council can then draft the offer to purchase for you to approve. 4423 Shadeland. We had some confusion over parcels involved, but Ashley and I were able to work that out today, and assuming that her schedule permits, we hope to bring to you an offer to purchase, or an advertised offer to solicit proposals for that property at the 26th of October meeting, which after that time, then we'll seek proposals and hopefully have proposals by the end of November for us to review. Any questions on items 3, 4, or 5 before I move on to the last item? So with the last item, we've had a lot of discussion between Mr. Fenwick, Mrs. Hopper, Tom John. We feel that the RDC, my experience with RDCs that I've worked with before, most of the time, RDCs in the state have their own legal counsel for a variety of reasons. Tom John is, even though he served as counsel and we approved his contract, that was primarily to get us through the whole end of the Freegee project. Ashley is serving as general counsel for the city and has done a great job of helping us through my transition as Cam left, because obviously Cam provided a lot of the legal services to the council or to the commission during his time frame. And Tom is serving as corporate counsel to the city. And in our view, we need to, particularly Jason and I believe we need a separate RDC legal representation of a specialist that really works with nothing but primarily RDCs. So I asked Joe to distribute to you all the bio for Mr. Bruce Donaldson from Barnes & Thornburg. In my view, he is the foremost RDC attorney in the state of Indiana. He has real specialties related to TIF and bonds and enterprise zones and opportunity zones and all the various things that we're going to be dealing with in the coming years. I did not ask Mr. Donaldson to attend today, and unfortunately, he's not available on the 26th. But I didn't think it would be fair to you just to bring him in and put it in front of you and have him make a presentation, ask you to make a vote. But I have asked Mr. Donaldson, and Jason has talked to him as well, if he would consider being our counsel, and he said he would. By the way, he served as bond counsel to the city very successfully in past years and transactions, very familiar with Lawrence. He's a guy that would trust implicitly. I've also asked him to consider an engagement with us that would not require a retainer, because I don't think we're going to need retainer-type services on a month-to-month basis as we go forward. I think we should only pay for the services we need and not be obligated to services we don't. He has agreed to that. So I wanted to introduce this to you and be sure you're okay, but I would like to invite Mr. Donaldson to make a presentation to us at our November meeting so you can get acquainted with him, be sure you see what I see, and consider Mr. Donaldson to be our new counsel going forward. So, Ashley, do you have anything to add to that discussion in any way?
No, I don't. Thank you.
So does anybody have an
So this
objection?
would be in addition to Tom John's legal
Tom-
counsel, correct?
Only to the extent, Cheryl, that Tom is to finish up the Freegee deal. We've not really been using him for anything else. So by the absence of much further discussion, is it okay if I invite Mr. Donaldson to meet with you on the 26th of November? Does anybody object?
No.
Hearing none, I will make that outreach. Just wanted to advise you of the reason and his qualifications so you could be prepared. So with that, is there any other business to come before the commission? Mr. President, I have none.
I have no other business than what we had on the agenda.
I might mention that at this point in time, though they've been extremely productive, the only thing that we may be bringing to you on the 26th that you're fully aware of, I believe, is the action relative to the 4423 Shadeland offering. And assuming that remains the case, I'm going to assume, unless you tell me otherwise today, that you're comfortable with hearing about that action and taking that action that evening without the need for an executive session between now and the 26th. Does that meet everybody's approval? Okay.
Yes. You might want to mention, since, excuse me, since we've had discussion concerning representing the property that's currently owned by Monarch that sits in front of their building, the recent news concerning that organization might be interesting to just mention it.
Mr. Clifford is asking me to be certain that all of you are aware. I know that Mr. Blount is. I know that Ray is. They both reached out to me that Monarch has sold as one of our most outstanding businesses in the city. They've sold to an Illinois firm. It's our understanding that they're asking their employees to reapply for their positions. Obviously, they've been a very philanthropic partner to the mayor and to the city of Lawrence, and this is a really critical juncture. Mr. Clifford asked my thoughts on that. As we're in a public meeting, I believe my thoughts are that they're still going to likely continue to operate out of Lawrence in a facility that was designed specifically for them. I think it remains to be seen as to what kind of partner they become to the city or how they contribute compared to what we've experienced in the past. But I believe we should give them the benefit of the doubt till we actually have a chance to meet with them. I'm sure that by the very fact that Mr. Terry and his family and the people that supported that sale, I'm sure they've talked through a lot of those things. And my assumption is that they're going to continue to be a good steward to the city's interests.
Thank Thank you.
So with that, I believe, Mr. President, you could call for a motion to adjourn.
If there is no other business to come before the council, do I have a motion for this meeting to end? Sorry.
So moved.
So seconded.
Roll call
Second.
vote. Oh, thank you. Roll call vote for adjournment. David Blunt,
Approved.
Jerry Clifford,
Approved.
Melissa Swindell,
Approved.
Ray, one last head shake. Thank you. Cheryl Sullivan.
Approved.
Mr. President, I believe we are adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.